Hello everyone. Today I am going to show you how to host your own online. But before we do that, I have one little thing to say. I cannot help you on how to buy a domain, a website, right? To then host the online in that website, okay? That's different for every country, and the procedure is not something that depends on you alone. You have to buy it, you have to make a transaction, and you have to do a lot of other stuff. So I'm not gonna show that. I'm just gonna show you the rundown, simple way to do it immediately for you to play with your friends alone, okay? Because the URL, once you host it, the URL to access the game is gonna be your IP, okay? You're gonna understand what I'm saying once you finish watching the whole thing. If you don't wanna watch it, I left in the description some guides in text form, okay? If you don't want to watch the video. That's all I wanted to say. There's another things in the description too if you want it, but that's optional. Now, this is your folder. You don't want to change the name of the folder. Yume 2Kki online main. You don't want to change that name, okay? You don't want to change it. You want to leave it as it is. It's very important you leave it as it is, okay? Don't change this name right here. So inside you'll see that it's all this stuff that you're not going to touch, and in private there's gonna be a file that's very important here that you actually have to change and mess around a little bit, but it's not gonna be too hard or too weird, okay? Don't be scared about what's in the background over there, all that code. It's not that bad, okay? So you wanna open configuration.json. I usually use a Visual Studio for this. Specifically because you're gonna need Visual Studio for one thing alone, alright? Which I'm gonna show you in a little bit. But before we do that, we're gonna go to the folder here, and we're gonna go to public. Now here in public, you're gonna go to the folder play and games, and here is you're gonna leave your 2Kki game, okay? Now, over here in the 2Kki folder, there's a very important file that you have to drop. The gen cache, or whatever you call this in English, gen cache, whatever, okay? You want to have this file here at all times. I'm going to leave it in the description, obviously, along with everything else that you need. And every time you update the game and before you host it, you have to run this file. See that? I just run it and it created an index.json file. Now this index.json file is kind of telling the hosting, the browser, whatever you want to call it, that you updated the game, that you added something to it, that there are changes to the game that you made. So for example, if I drop, right, in Charset, a custom sprite, which we're going to talk about later, and I want it to be in the game immediately, I stop hosting, I run this file, it's just a second, and then this will get updated. And then I'm able to use that custom sprite in the game after I host it again, okay? Very simple. Oh, and another thing, make 100% sure that you drop all the RTP files. You know, like all the RTP files. I'm gonna leave the RTP folder, right? Because the browser cannot detect if you have RPG Maker installed on your computer. So what you have to do is move all those RPG Maker files, right, the base game for RPG Maker, into 2Kki or into any other fan game that you want to play, or maybe you just want to play Yume 2Kki, and that's it. That's fine. Just make sure to do that, okay? Ignore the old stuff. That's like me editing some things. Now the index.html and the favicon.eco, right? The favicon.eco, it's actually a little icon that's gonna be in the browser. You know the little icon on the tab of the browser? That's the icon. I made a new one for myself. This is the old one. You're not gonna see this stuff, by the way. You're gonna see my stuff. You're not gonna see old and new version or anything like that. You're gonna have a clean, perfectly normal icon, okay? That if you wanna change, you can do whatever you like. And the index.html is how to see, it's the site that you're gonna see in the browser, okay? So it's a site that everyone is going to access, and it's gonna be very important that you check this often, because I'm gonna show you something in the browser after the fact, okay? And that's pretty much it. Now let's go to the package, which is right below. This is package.json. Sorry, configuration.json. I'm so sorry. So as you can see, I told you to open this file, right? And over here, this is what you need to save here. So I left port 999 because that is when you're gonna go to your router, which I'm gonna show you now, you're gonna do port forwarding, okay? And you need to choose a number for the port that is not used by anything else. Usually it's this number. No, most people don't use this unless you're hosting other games and so on. Maybe you have this number already, which we're gonna check now in a little bit, okay? This, for example, the games path is where you save your games. For example, I have 2Kki, okay? It has to do with the folder, by the way. You wanna have the folder for the game to be short and concise, 2Kki, that's it. Don't leave the Japanese letters and so, because it's gonna be in the URL, and I'm pretty sure most people don't have a Japanese keyboard and have the Japanese settings on the keyboard. So you wanna leave it on romanized letters that you can access very easy. Or you can just put 2 and whatever. Again, as I said, you're gonna see that in a little bit, okay? You don't wanna change anything else. This, for example, is the rooms range, which is like, it has to do with the amount of rooms in 2Kki, for example, which I'm pretty sure no other game has more rooms than 2Kki, and 2Kki doesn't exceed 8,000 rooms. If it eventually does, well, you can check that in the game files. Pretty sure that it's not gonna happen, but if it does, goodness. But that's pretty much it, okay? Don't change anything else in here. Now you're wondering, what is style CSS and style all CSS? Okay, so style CSS is the index file for the website, okay? This is a style for your website. I changed the basic one to be whatever I wanted because I like doing that. I had to learn CSS by myself. Took me a few hours, took me like a whole day, but I couldn't manage because, you know, it wasn't that bad, honestly. This is the old style, which is the one that you're gonna have. I'm not gonna leave you with this. I'm gonna leave you with this, right? And I like usually Visual Studio because I have a little extension that lets me see the colors and choose them from here, which I recommend 100%. It's very useful. Now you can change here, you know, the colors of the site if you like, anything you like. Don't change anything here, okay? As in like the text. You can change the colors, but don't change the text or anything here, okay? Unless you know what you're doing, okay? If you know what you're doing and you can work with CSS with no problem, you can change whatever you like in here, okay? I changed a few things, added other stuff. For example, in here I added like, you know, silly things, whatever, right? There's other files in the styles, which is the erpg.css, which is where you want the game. Usually this you shouldn't really change. You should leave it as it is, usually, okay? And then you have the chat, you know, also not really needed to change. This is what you want to work with mostly if you want to change the appearance of the site. If you don't like this style, which is the one that you're going to have by default, you can change it and you can mess around with it all you like. Make sure to always have a copy and a backup so you don't have to download the same thing over and over again. It's going to get annoying. So you can just do that. And yeah, I'm going to show you now, very important, the browser. So, oh yeah, before I do that, in the CMD, what you want to do, right, to get your IP, you want to type ipconfig, just like this, and press enter. And right there, it's gonna show the first one. I usually choose the first one. If it doesn't work, choose the second one, usually the first one. Here it says my IPv4 address is this number, right? I'm gonna choose the second one here because it's my first one. This is my Ethernet 2, which I'm not gonna use. I'm gonna use the first one. And my IPv4 address here is this little number right here, okay? I just copy it. I just selected it, Control C, right? And you wanna save that, okay? Now you're gonna go and search in your browser what is your current IP. because it's different. The IPv4 address that shows here is different to the one I have. So just to make sure, you know, go to a site, random site, what is my current IP, and access that as a link to access your router, okay? Because sometimes people's IP changes a lot, mine changes a lot, so the IPv4 address I have here is not the same that is in the browser, okay, as you can see. So, now that we're here in the router, this is very important. Usually, most routers have a username user with password user, and some of them have username admin and password admin. For me, it's user and user. Okay, so I'm gonna log in, and now I'm gonna go to my port forwarding tab, which for my router, okay, every router is different. You'll have to check online for your router model and how to check, you know, find port forwarding on your router, see if you can set it up, okay? So for me, it's internet and security. So as you can see here, I already have one called 2Kki and one for the PlayStation 3, which is for a Castlevania game. But just to show you, right? Here in my Castlevania game, I have a port here. This number, 3658, okay? So, I don't want to choose the same number for 2Kki. I'm going to choose a unique one. If I have other stuff, whatever. Now, obviously for you, you're not going to have 2Kki already here, so what you want to do is create a new item and you just copy everything that's in here, okay? In case you know. Now, the LAN host is going to be my current IP that I showed you in the CMD, which is the same one, you know, because I was testing things. You don't want to change here anything, and you want to make sure that the protocol is TCP and UDP, okay? You want to make everything just very simple like that. And the name, it can be anything. It doesn't matter what the name is here. I'll usually just keep it simple though. Okay, just place 2Kki, that's it. That should be pretty much it. Oh, one connection could be auto, by the way. I wouldn't change things here unless I know what I'm doing. If you know what you're doing, do whatever you like. But usually you just want to leave it like this, okay? So now, how do you access the game? Well, once you apply this, right? And you're gonna have it here along with maybe other ports that you might be forwarding, who knows, right? This is the URL. It's gonna be your IP, and then the two little dots, the port, oh, my bad, the port, and then the game, and it's gonna be 2Kki. Now remember in the folder that I told you to leave the game a simple name that you can write in your browser, no problem, just 2Kki. And test play is optional, by the way. You don't have to do the test play, but if you wanna do it, you can, okay? I usually recommend it for 2Kki, because you know how 2Kki is, right? So, you're saying, okay, but how do I run it? How do I start the server? So, inside the private folder, right? I'm gonna show you right now. Inside here, there's a start.cmd. You wanna start this, okay? You wanna run the file, and it's just gonna say, you know, users, administrator, desktop, unique line, private node, blah blah blah. Okay, that's pretty much it. So once you do that, you wanna go to URL, and here's the game. It's gonna be very loud. Wait a minute. Maybe it's gonna take a little bit for you to load. It could be. This is my old style for my index. This is not the new one, just in case you wanna know. But because I moved the old one and stuff, whatever, blah blah blah. Right? Now I'm gonna give you a little tips on how to play this game. Okay? Well, not how to play the game. Sorry, on how to like check on some settings that is different from the actual game. Just give me a little moment. Okay, so first what you want to do is upload your save file. Right, you're gonna find in your folders your save file. And once you do that, right, once you have here save 01.lsd, you press upload. And then you reload the site. Oh, and as you can see here, the little tab, there's the rabbit thingy that I told you. I made a custom icon. now I can access my save file. And here's the game. You know, now if I share this link to anyone else, now that I'm running the game, they can actually access the game with me and play with me right here. Okay, but I'm not gonna do that. So what you wanna do first is you press tab to focus on the chat, and my name is gonna be Krolik, and my trip, if you have an empty trip, don't worry about it. Just press enter anyway, and the game is gonna give it to you automatically. You don't need to type anything on trip, you just press enter, okay? Now, what you wanna do is do /help, and here you can see all the commands that are available for you. So for example, you have sprite set, sprite list, ignore chat, ignore game. There's a description for all of these commands. There's a track also in case you lose someone in a very big world and you wanna get to them. You can track your friends with that option. It's very, very useful. I used it a lot of times. Okay? So, what we wanna do first is to show you how to use the custom sprites. So what I'm gonna do, for convenience sake, I'm gonna show you the sprite fab command. Now this command sets a sprite as your favorite, so once you use sprite list, you can check which ones you have. So for me, right, I made a custom Monoe sprite for 2Kki, right? It was actually the first one that I did for my friend Hyule. Okay, so let me find it real quick here. It was now I'm gonna show you how it works exactly, so you can understand how it works, not just, oh, it just works. No, you can understand how it works. Now let me show you something real quick. Wait a minute. Okay, so over here, as you can see, this is an image file that is inside charset. Okay, that folder right there with the character sprites basically. So you saying, oh, you know, this is the sprite sheet, right? And the sprite sheet name right here is custom1.png. Okay, if it has Japanese letters and you can't write them, just right click, rename, but then copy it and don't rename it. That's simple. Okay, so you're gonna have the text in the file itself. It's not that crazy. All right, so how does one know what is the sprite sheet and what is the index? Now, the sprite sheet is just the name of the file, which is custom1.png. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here in the game, I'm gonna type custom1. I'm not gonna add the extension of the file, obviously. And now I want to be Monoe specifically, which is the first one, right? Now I'm gonna tell you something. So you see there are 8 rows. You're like, oh, they go from 1 to 8. Now from left to right and top to bottom, it goes from 0 to 7. So Monoe is 0. This row right here is 0. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, make sure to remember this. Now if I want to be Monoe, I'll type here in the index 0, right? I press space. Now I want to give this name to the sprite, so it shows in the sprite list, and it's Monoe, so I'm just gonna type Monoe as the name. Okay, now I set it up as a favorite sprite. Okay, now what you want to do here is you do sprite list, and as you can see there in my favorites, Monoe is right there. So I do sprite set and I just type Monoe instead of going and checking the index again and checking the sprite sheet again. Maybe it's in Japanese letters and you don't want to go constantly to your 2Kki folder, right? You just press this, and as you can see, I'm already Monoe, and I can go into the game with no problem. You know, super easy, right? Let's say that I want to use one from 2Kki itself, right? So let me show you now. We're gonna test with one that has Japanese letters. I wanna be, for example, okay, so I'm gonna use one of these fishes which are like at the bottom, right? This isn't 2Kki, by the way. It's in the, I'm pretty sure it's the Flying Fish World. Let me do something on my phone real quick. Okay, so the name is in Japanese. So what you want to do is you right click, rename, and then Control C to copy, and you deselect it, and that's it. So let's say here, right? Oh my god, that's not what I wanted to press, sorry. So I do Sprite Fav. As you can see over there, that's the Japanese text. It's very, yep, it's very weird. And let's say I want to be the last fish, which again, as I told you, it's 0 from 7, okay? So let's type 7 here, and we're gonna call it fish. That's it. Oh, make sure not to make the mistake. Now I do sprite list, and as you can see, that's the fish. And I do sprite set fish. Oh yeah, sorry, it's cap sensitive. And as you can see, I'm now the little fish. Oh wait, you can't see it. My bad, I forgot that this wasn't. So as you can see, I'm the little fish right now. I am a fish. And it just works. So now I don't have to type all these Japanese letters or just check the files all the time. You're welcome. So now, another little thing. I think it was reset. Oh no. What was to reset it? Oh my god. Oh my god, the fucking neighbors. I hate it. Oh yeah, my bad. Sprite set default is to go back to the default one, and you're not gonna see it until you move away from the room or you reconnect, I think. Now, very important. When you open this is the menu. Now you have a debug, which is from the test play, and the multiplayer option, which is a default option. It's gonna be there all the time. Now over here, you have the sound effect sync, which is to listen to maybe your friends play the trumpet constantly, and if you don't want to do that, you can turn this off. Right? This is the synchronization for everything. So if a NPC shows up in like a corner, your friends are also gonna see it in the corner. This is something that usually I recommend having off, because it can for people with low connection, or maybe you have a very low connection, it can make the game run a little weird. Like the NPCs, they're gonna move a little iffy, they're not gonna look that right. So I think it's better if you turn it off. This is just an name, says in the global chat, which the global chat is a message that you can send for everyone, not just the people in the room 2, which you can see here, it's room 2. For everyone in the game right now, you can just say hello, and over here you can see there's a G with an arrow. That means it's a global chat message. You can turn it off here in the options if you want, if you don't want to see that. And the reconnect option is actually, I think, the most useful thing you're gonna have in the game. So let's say you lose internet connection in the middle of a very long session, right? And you're like, oh my god, I don't want to lose my progress, right? But you don't want to reload the page, because if you do that, you are going to lose your progress. So what do? You choose this option, reconnect. So what does reconnect do is, it disconnects you for a second over there, and then it connects you again, and you're in the same area. You didn't lose any progress, and you're all good. That's the best you can do, alright? For when you like lose connection for a second, and for some reason the game or the browser is not detecting that you're connected again. So just do that. And also, it can also help if, for example, you're in a world that's really dark, and you get out and your sprite still looks dark, and you're like, oh, why does it look so dark? You just reconnect, and it usually fixes it. If not, just go back in and back out, and that's it. It's a very specific issue, though. Most people usually don't have much trouble with it, but just in case, I just wanted to let you know. Now, another thing, when you do test play, you can no clip. If you hold the control key and move around, you can no clip. As you can see, I'm no clipping right now. And if you stop pressing it, you won't no clip anymore. Okay, I just wanted to show that's a little trick for, if you're stuck or something, you can use this. Alright, there's other options that you can check for yourself. I recommend just experimenting and messing around with everything you like. As you can see, the chat is synced to my menu theme. And yeah, I'm gonna leave everything in the description, everything you need. And I'm gonna leave a Google Drive folder for a Google account that I'm gonna make solely for this, with a Google document. Again, so for people who don't want to watch the video again, you can just check the Google document and a paste bin with all the URLs and all of the information that you need to know how to host this, right? Someone that, doesn't want to host it for like a lot of people, that you're gonna have to do something else over there. But what I'm gonna do in the Google Drive folder, I'm gonna leave custom sprites for you to use whenever you like. So let's say, I want to be Monoid too, but I don't want to make a sprite. I don't know how to do that. Well, you can use mine. Feel free to do that. You can use the Monoid I did, or you can just use the other ones I did, because I did more. And I'm gonna keep making more, so I'm gonna update that Google Drive folder with more sprites eventually, okay? And if you happen to be, in a certain place, you can, see the progress I'm making. But usually, you're not gonna see that. You're just gonna see, there's a new file uploaded in this folder, and it's a new sprite. That's pretty much it. Maybe I'll make a community post in my channel if you like. That's pretty much it. I think that's all you need to know. If you need to know anything else, you can comment, or you can yeah, and I think that's all you can do. You can comment. There's no other way to reach me. I mean, there's Twitter, but I don't really like using Twitter. I made the account for other reasons. So I will prefer if you comment on the video if you need to know anything about, this, and I'll try to assist you the best I can. I have a friend who is really good with coding, so even if I don't know, I can ask him, and then he can reply to you with that. Okay? So you're welcome, and I'm glad that I could help.